Welcome to the Mindfully Masculine podcast with Charles and Dan, where we take a conscious, holistic, and direct approach to relationships, mental health, and self-improvement. For additional content, visit our website at mindfullymasculine.com. And to interact with us, our guests, and your fellow listeners, join the Mindfully Masculine group on Facebook.
Hey, Charles, good morning.
Hey, Dan, how you doing?
I'm well.
Well, it's going to be an exciting day around my place. I am going to be setting up and teaching my new robot vacuum the lay of the land here so that I can have less of a pet hair-based existence in the coming days.
Okay. So you previously had a robot vacuum.
I bought one once, and then I gave up on the idea of it and just sent it back to Amazon. So this will be the first one that I actually use.
Okay. Now, no offense, but I've been to your place and you've got 2 square feet of floor.
Just about, yeah.
Is it just going to be doing just like kind of bumping into stuff and making circles? And how is this? Do you really need a robot vacuum?
The only vacuum I have currently is basically a handheld dustbuster.
Okay.
And when I was using that the other day, I was like, screw this. I am not getting on my hands and knees to vacuum out every nook and cranny. Okay. So even if I have to do some of that still, but I do a lot less of it, then that's cool with me. If I get a little bit of benefit from my robot vacuum, then I'll be happy. And if I don't, then I will send it back to Amazon and get another return.
And you've got room for it to move around and get to all those nooks and crannies.
Basically, I've got the main walkway in my camper. I've got a little aisle on each side of my queen size bed, and then the area under the table that I'm currently sitting on. And if it is able to get a fair amount of the pet hair out of those areas, then I'll be happy to use my handheld to get the rest.
At least you're setting the expectations properly.
Yes, absolutely. I think it will get the lion's share of my cat's hair that he sheds by just doing those areas.
Okay.
So we'll see how it goes. If it doesn't, then I'll bail.
That's the nice thing about Amazon, right?
Right, exactly. And I'm also working with my the new place that I've mounted my tablet and my ring light above my right under my cabinets. So I've got this going on now too, and that's my tablet is now not taking up real estate on my desk / dining room table.
So fancy.
I mean, look, when you've got a lack of space, you've got to use it very efficiently. And so when I can, buy a new $20 or $30 gadget that gets me some real estate back, I'm happy to try it. And I'm happy with this one. The angle's just a little bit different, so people are seeing, this side of my face instead of this side of my face a little bit more. But I don't. We'll see how that works out. We'll see what that does to the listenership or the viewership on YouTube.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, I'm glad we're finding ways to optimize that space and make you look a little better.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Here's another purchase. I got what was the cheapest, most highly reviewed bullet journal on Amazon, $5.50.
Steal.
So this it's not as thick. I don't think it doesn't have as many pages. Doesn't come with any accessories or documentation about how to use it, but $5.50. I'm starting a brand new one for May that I'm setting the intention to use much more reliably and regularly than my last one that I had.
How often were you using the old one?
It really came and went. Like sometimes I would have a Sunday night planning session where I would lay out my whole week and really be pretty judicious with it. But often I was not doing that. So now that we're talking about it, I'm using this as fresh motivation to get back into the practice.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm about to start I have my leather bound one here.
Oh,
and
fancy.
It is nice. And what's nice is as I've been using it, it's been getting softer and softer and softer, easier and easier to open up. And whatever this paper is on the pages, it's a lot softer than a normal page. It sounds really weird, but when you're writing in it, it feels better. It feels like you're writing on a pillow, but it's actually, it's actually leaving marks as well. I am kind of surprised about how good it feels to write in this journal versus an average notebook. And it really has helped me want to write in it a little bit more in a weird way.
Interesting. Yeah. I find that having nice,
because I was using just little notepads like this and jotting task lists on it, whatever. And it sounds really weird to me too, saying, "Oh, I enjoy it," but the feeling that, the texture of it's actually nice.
Now, what do you write with? What's your writing instrument of choice?
So I was using these Bic, this Pilot G3 pens, and they're a little bit thicker. They have a little rubber on the end here to kind of squeeze, and it's a little bit softer on your fingers, and it's a very smooth process. You can actually replace the liquid on there. And I was like, yeah, this one is good. And then I left it in the other room and I just tried a regular pen and it was just as good. So like the Pilot G2. So it didn't seem to matter what kind of pen I was using. It was more about the notebook itself for me.
Interesting. So I've got a Pilot G2 Limited as well. This is the one in dark gray, and this is my secondary pen. My primary is my Mont Blanc Star Walker.
Nice.
And this was a birthday present that I got for myself quite a few years ago. Let me see how long. Actually, I know that I've got the order confirmation still in my Gmail box. So let me see how long I've had this pen without losing it, so we can all be impressed. Let's see.
So what is it about the Mont Blanc that you like?
I like that it is fancy, and so I've invested some money in this to have something that I consider to be, it's a nice thing that sparks joy, as Marie Kondo would say.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's kind of it costs me more money, so thereby it feels more valuable and more precious.
Dude, I've got a great solution for you. I'm going to hand you a G2 and you can give me $500 for that. And it will be so valuable and
nope, that's
precious,
not how it works.
And it will be so worth it for you.
No, there's got to be something more to it than that. I love how heavy it is, how it feels in my hand as well. But so those are factors too. I got this in 2014, so I've been able to hold on to this for 8 years now, almost 8 years.
How many times have you replaced the ink?
Tons of times, but not because I run out of ink, because I want to try new colors. And Mont Blanc has all these really cool colors, and you can go to the store over at the Mall at Millennia in Orlando and just buy a 2-pack of new colors for, I don't know, 10, 12, 18 bucks. I know the price has been going up, but whenever I feel like for example, starting this new journal, I may go to one of my refills that I've got up in my little cabinet here above my thing and switch to a new color.
Wow.
And they have some new colors, some cool colors. I like it.
Have you seen these teachers' pens for like 99 cents where they've got black and green and red, and they just click it and you come out, and you don't even have to replace anything. It's much more convenient. No, it is not the same. They are not $500 a piece. So
this was not $500.
Right. It was not. It was
this
more?
Retails for $385, and I got it for $199 at a gray market website. So it's probably not covered by the Mont Blanc warranty because I got it from a sketchy source, but $199 is what I got my pen for.
Do you always have to get Mont Blanc refills, or can you get black market?
It may be like HP inkjet printers where you could possibly get black market, but I'm very proud to say I don't know, because I'm not that kind of a cheapskate where I would even look into that.
Yeah.
Part of the experience is going to the Mont Blanc store,
emptying your bank account,
Millennia, and then getting the official Mont Blanc refill, putting it in a Mont Blanc bag, and then walking around to the other stores at the mall and being treated better by the staff because I have a Mont Blanc bag.
Oh, wow. Can I borrow that Mont Blanc bag next time I go to the mall?
That's part of the whole experience that goes into the way I like to be treated and the way I like to shop.
Oh my God, I got to borrow that bag. Yeah.
So what's new with you?
What's new with me? Well, I'm finally getting my patio resurfaced here at the pool.
Ooh, that's exciting.
And getting all the little cracks filled in with sand. So I'm not constantly out there with weed killer every 2 months, trying to tame the Amazon jungle that grows in between all the stones. It makes it almost difficult to walk out of the house into the yard. So that's getting done finally. I got some insurance approval for covering the pool enclosure that was destroyed by the hailstorm that we had a couple of months ago.
Wow.
So my insurance company is going to pay for that, and they're going to pay for a new roof, which is my roof's about 17 years old. So I'm pretty excited about that. The thing I'm not excited about is because so many other houses were damaged, it's going to be a long time before I can get a company out here to start doing the work. So
bummer.
Yeah, but
yeah, I guess that's part of the Florida experience, right?
Exactly.
When something comes through that you get a new fill in the blank for, everybody else is getting a new one too. So you gotta
take a number. Yep, yeah, for sure. Yep.
How long do you think it'll be?
Oh, it's probably, to be honest with you, I don't expect things to even get started for another couple of months, because I don't even get people call me back yet. I'm not even getting them to call me back. Like I've had estimates, and then it comes time. I'm like, they're waiting for money. I got the money in, and I've told them, and they're not even calling me back. So I have really not set an expectation, because I'm just going to get disappointed, whatever it is.
That's probably a wise. That's a wise way to go, generally speaking, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so I have a correction to issue from a previous episode of the podcast. I think it was our last Jordan Peterson episode. I was talking about my experience with going to therapy, and how my decision to go to therapy coincides with, personal disasters, relationship endings, things like that. And my most recent ex-girlfriend reached out to me to say, hey, wait a second, you started going to therapy when we started dating.
Yeah.
And so that's true. I did.
Yeah.
And
so
the starting of my relationship with her was not something I consider to be a disaster by any means.
Okay. Even though she's an ex?
Yes. The start of the relationship was not a personal disaster. But then I stopped going to therapy mid-relationship, and she broke up with me. So then I had to go to therapy again because of the breakup.
So are you actually thanking her for breaking up with you? Is that what I'm getting out of this?
No, that's an interesting question. And
because do you think you're a better person because of it?
I mean, that's a broad question to use to discuss negative experiences and traumas in general. So is it possible to look back on a painful negative experience and say, man, even though I hated going through that, do I think that I'm better off now being the person I am that survived that experience? Or, if I had it to do over again, would I not go through that terrible thing? Or have I gotten enough positive growth out of the negative experience that I would go through it again if I had the choice?
Yeah. So what's your answer?
I think I would definitely go through it again.
Yeah.
As much as it sucked, as much as breakups in general suck, and this one in particular, because I don't know if it's because it was recent, it was my most fresh breakup, or because it was, objectively worse than others. Either way, I would say yes. There's not a lot I wouldn't go through to be who I am today compared to who I was a year ago. I mean, I'd be willing to go through some pretty rough stuff for the growth I've experienced over the last year, and certainly that breakup would be included.
Yeah, I seeing what you've done with yourself since then, I would agree with that. I think you've become a much more well-rounded and self-aware person since that, and it's unfortunate sometimes in life. It's those extreme things that have to happen before we get that wake up call, and before we go, okay, this is motivation enough for me to actually get uncomfortable and potentially try and make some changes. And sometimes lessons are painful, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, just looking back at all the all the periods of my, and I think I've said this before on the podcast, all the periods of great growth in my life have been the result of essentially a woman saying you're not good enough the way you are. Which is rough.
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that's the
so all of your guy friends who constantly tell you you're not good enough, you just ignore us.
Yeah, I just go get new guy
that
friends.
means nothing, right? Yeah,
like,
one woman says you're not good enough.
I'm like, thanks for your feedback. I'm gonna go be friends with someone else now. Thanks. Good luck. Like, you don't get to tell me that. Yeah, but yeah, that's the rub, as they say, of how how things go with relationships. And I wish that's not what it took for me to make drastic, long-lasting change, but my own personal history has said that's exactly what it takes.
Yeah.
So there we are. So
there we are.
Correction issued.
Yes. There's
but I'm real committed now to doing therapy from now on for good. And I did I had my most recent session on Wednesday at Magic Kingdom. I found a nice quiet place where Renata and I could talk, and I propped my phone up on a pair of sunglasses and just sat there and did my session with her at Magic Kingdom.
Wow. So how did that go at the happiest place on earth?
It was a pretty positive session. I had a good time talking to her. I mean, we got into some of the usual heavy stuff, but it was a fun session.
Now, has she given you any kind of guidance or recommendations about journaling, since that's what this episode's about?
She knows that I do it, and she supports that I do it. I can't ever remember a time when she was like, "You need to journal that," because I don't know. I don't.
Now, I know you said she wanted you to do affirmations,
right?
But I was just wondering if there's anything else.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, a lot of the things that I do for personal improvement that have a writing component, her and I certainly talk about those things, and sometimes I'll share with her what I've written, but I don't remember the recommendation or the suggestion coming from her to write more things than I already am.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'll, again, I may have to correct that if something comes to mind that I'm not currently thinking of. So yeah, let's dive into it if you want to. Is there anything from our last discussion that you wanted to revisit before we get into some stuff that may be new?
No, I think we can just get into the new stuff.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to, the stuff I'm going to talk about today is mostly drawn from a singular source, which is the Daily Stoic's website. If you go to dailystoic.com/journaling, Ryan Holiday, the guy who runs that site, has put together a lot of good information about journaling. And I just want to run through some of that in the time that we've got today. And I encourage everybody to go check out that link so that you can get the full experience. One of the first things is that the benefits of journaling have been pretty thoroughly backed up by science, that you basically perform in a more efficient, healthier way when you journal. And that includes, one of the interesting things I found was that it will, one, make you better at your job. Two, it'll make you a better speaker. So if public speaking is part of any hobby or profession that you have in your life where you want to be better at it, journaling is a way to do that. The other thing that I found interesting was that journaling post-traumatic event will help you deal with getting over that event much better. So as soon as something really rough happens to you, start writing it down, and you'll find your ability to get through that situation is going to be enhanced by just the fact that you journaled shortly after it happened to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're doing then is you're detaching from the emotions that might be driving a lot of thoughts, a lot of other feelings,
Right. Because of the part of your brain that's involved with writing things down. Absolutely. It disengages your, your reptile, super emotional, instinctive brain, and it starts getting, the parts of your brain that are better at cognition involved in the process, which is a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of the other recommendations: bring your problems to your journal. So when you're going through a difficult situation, you don't know how to fix it. Same kind of thing. If you start writing it, then you're engaging parts of your brain in that process that are better at actually finding solutions than just the part of your brain that is responsible for reacting. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also like this idea of leave your destructive thoughts in your journal. So let's see. Somebody said, Eugene Delacroix said, who called Stoicism his consoling religion, struggled with occasional, even frequent internal tormenting. My mind is continually occupied in useless scheming. They burn me up and lay my mind to waste. The enemy is within my gates. So he said, I'm taking up my journaling again after a long break. I think it may be a way of calming this nervous excitement that has been worrying me for so long. And then, of course, Tim Ferriss, who, if you're into self-improvement or personal development at all, that's a name that obviously he said of his daily journaling habit, I don't journal to be productive. I don't do it to find great ideas or to put down prose I can later publish. The pages aren't intended for anyone but me. I'm just caging my monkey mind on paper so I can get on with my effing day.
Yeah, that's the same concept, that thought download that I talked about.
Yeah.
You're just getting it out so that it's not taking up space. And the other thing is it's generating emotions too, right? So that's the other thing I just thought of now is if it's staying in your head, it's got a potential then to, I feel, create emotions based on when it pops in your mind. And then now, even when you're trying to do something else, when that thing pops in your mind, you're feeling like a stressed emotion, or you're feeling uncomfortable, whatever that might be. And that's going to affect what you're currently doing. Whereas, you get that out, you get that on that paper. I know I don't feel it nearly as strong, or I don't remember it as much in my mind. It doesn't play back over and over and over again. And therefore allows me then to really be more present and experience what I'm experiencing.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, just being able to dump that stuff and not have to carry it around. We talked about that in our last episode about the idea of, how that getting things done system works, where the idea is, the less you feel obligated to carry around in your brain, the more your brain is free to do either the productive stuff or the creative stuff that you need to get done.
Yeah. And then to take that one step further, and I think you might have mentioned this, or we have talked about it on the last episode, which is writing something down that you get excited about that day or that week.
Yeah.
And that then then you're programming your mind, and you're putting that positive thought, that positive feeling in your mind. And so now in the back of your mind, or running around your mind, you might be thinking about that thing that you're excited about. And that's kind of a nice way of programming yourself to feel good feelings. And so as you do other things, you're feeling good because you're excited about something, even if it's on a low level, as you're going about your day until you get to that exciting thing. I feel you're going to be more attentive. You're going to have some more energy. And when you invest that more energy into, if you're working with other people, they're going to feel that, and they're going to give that a little bit back to you as well. And I feel like it's going to be a positive cycle in terms of how the day goes for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly a better thing than anxiety, which is looking to the future and being worried about something that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like look to the future and be excited about something that's going to happen.
Yep.
And I definitely think that's your journal can be a great tool to make that easier, and more deliberate. Another thing that he mentions in this article is keeping your journal for other people. And there's two specifically: your grandkids and your future self.
Mm-hmm.
And, being able to use it to share with your grandkids who you were and what you were going through, and then also just being able to keep it for future Charles and future Dan, so that you can look back and say, oh yeah, that's what I was feeling when I was going through these things, 1 year ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago.
And I'm just going to throw out a little caution here, because this is something that I do is pick one thing and one purpose and go with that. So if you're journaling for yourself, journal for yourself. But if you're journaling for your grandkids or for your future self, journal with that intention. Don't vacillate back and forth where you're like, well, I want to journal for myself, but somebody else might read this. So now what you're doing is you're handcuffing your brain and your thoughts. And so you're not really free-form journaling as you might need it to get everything out there on paper, right? So you can do both, just don't try to do both at the same time, and just be clear about, okay, maybe this journal is just to feel better. And then this journal is future self, future kids. Other people are going to view this.
Disagree.
Good luck with that. All right. Yeah, please.
I am keeping my journals. I am dumping everything, regardless of how personal or embarrassing it is. Mm-hmm. And I have the intention that my friends and family can read these after I'm gone, and I don't care. Let them see who I really am and what I was really feeling, and they can make peace with that.
Hey, great. Now, what if they find that while you're still alive?
I mean, nobody's going to find my stuff while I'm still alive.
Okay.
If I have little kids running around that I don't want to see my stuff, then I'll keep it locked up. But for the near future, that's not a concern I have.
I would like to interview some parents and ask them how well they can keep things locked up from kids. Kids and animals tend to be very creative and crafty when they want to be. And they can find things when they want to find things. So
I literally have a gun safe on my night table that no one knows the combination to except me.
Okay, that's different. So you're gonna put a diary in a locked combination safe every day. You're gonna pull that in and out.
If I ever have kids that I'm sharing a primary residence with, I will have a safe with lots of things in there that they will not get access to, including weapons and journals.
So you don't think having to enter in that combination to get to your journal every day is going to inhibit you from actually using it?
My historical journals will be kept in there. The current journal that I'm using,
okay,
it will be more about setting expectations.
Right. Okay. So now
and boundaries.
Okay. So you've got your current journal that you're completely being totally free with, and you don't care that the kids are potentially viewing it, or your spouse or whatever. To me, it's not for you. I feel personally, I can't speak for you, but I would be limiting certain things that I say or don't say in there, knowing that it's very accessible to certain people. Whereas
would you be worried more about the content of your journal or the contents of your phone?
Probably my journal.
Interesting.
Because my phone, not so much, but my journal. And here's the thing is, in my technique, when I just journal for myself, it's on a piece of paper and I crumble up and throw it away. So I don't even keep a journal of like my complete, my ramblings, my thought downloads, my feelings or whatever. I get rid of it. And then I'll write for intention, and planning my day and my thoughts about my day and things like that. But if it's just a complete venting, that's for me. And it's more of the intention for me is to make me feel differently than I'm feeling. To be honest with you, it's okay. I don't like the way I'm feeling about something for some reason. I want to change that feeling. And so then it's really a tool. And to me, it's not really like valuable content, and I don't know if anybody's going to, they would have some insights into my brain and things like that. But to me, that's not as important, but that's me.
Yeah, I guess I would say that, as far as a partner or a spouse, it's like if I've set the boundary of, hey, part of what I do is journaling and my journal is just for me, not for you, and I can't expect them to agree to that and never look at it, then what am I doing with them in the first place?
That's fair.
And if they see something in my journal that makes them think, oh, I don't love you anymore, I don't want to be with you anymore, I'm going to be like, well, the journal was never the problem, was it? The problem was me setting a boundary that you didn't respect.
And obviously, then you've got bigger problems.
And you're right, we shouldn't be together anymore.
Yep. Yeah. No, I absolutely, I agree with that.
So, yeah, but I do appreciate your perspective. I just, Yeah, I'm just on the other side of it. I'm like, I'm going to put everything in there, and if that leads to something happening, then it leads to something happening, whatever that something might be. All right, let's talk about the a little bit more about the getting started or having a practice. One of the things he says is, forget about any rules you think you know about how you have to journal. Just do what works and what you find to be repeatable and beneficial for you, and don't worry too much about what somebody else says you have to do. He also says to start small, and with starting small, we'll go back to what I talked about before, which is I've got this 5-year journal that I use where it's just literally a phrase or a couple sentences today. Let's see. Let's go to April 29th. That's when we're recording this. A book I'm currently reading is the only prompt. So I'm going to have 5 years of books I'm currently reading after this thing is done. And that's pretty simple. I can definitely commit to being able to fill that out every day. It doesn't take much. The Daily Stoic journal, like we talked about, I want this to be my 2-a-day journal that I'm going to start today, and we'll see how that goes. Today will be the first day that I'm trying to write in it, morning and night. And another one that is recommended is the 1 line a day journal, and something called the 5-minute journal. And I'll put links to both of these to Amazon. And we are not affiliates, so if you have somebody that you're supporting with Amazon's charity program, feel free to benefit them. Feel free to benefit some other podcast that does have an Amazon affiliate link, but we don't at this point. So just use whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
or buy it in a bookstore, whatever you want to do. But yeah, 1 line a day journal, 5-minute journal, the 5-year journal from Rustico. That's what I use because I like the feeling of comfortable leather, as do you, Dan.
Yep.
And the pages are also, it's a nice quality paper on the inside of this too.
Oh, great.
So yeah, those are some options of just start with something small that doesn't require a lot of paperwork, and that will help you build the habit. Which yeah, why don't you talk a little bit about that, Dan, about what are some of the things we should know if we want to build a journaling habit?
Yeah. So no, I was actually, that's exactly where I was going to go with this, which was to make this easy is you need to figure out what that looks like when you're actually going to journal, meaning where are you going to do it and when you're going to do it. So, if you can do it in the mornings, are you going to, do you have a chair that you like to do? Is it a comfortable chair? Or are you going to do it like at the kitchen table? So, figure out where you're going to do it and where you feel it would be the easiest. And also what makes sense with your, like, for example, if we're going to do the morning in your routine. So does it make sense to do this before breakfast, or are you so hungry that it's going to be distracting you? And that's my case. So I like to do it after breakfast. But the idea here, if you want to build this to a habit, is to always use the same leading behavior but to do before you're actually doing the journaling. So for me, it might be after I finish my breakfast and I then fill up my cup of coffee. I sit down at my chair and I open my journal book, right? The journal that I'm going to use. And so what would be helpful is to remember that, to make that part of an automatic process in your brain, is you actually want to rehearse that 7 to 10 times, according to the Tiny Habits framework.
Yeah.
So you want to, and that means you're actually, and then what you're practicing actually is filling up the coffee cup, sitting down, and then opening the journal. And that's it. You're not writing in it. And you just practice that 7 to 10 times, could be really any time of day. And so then the next morning, when you go to have your breakfast, and then it's time to, you put your plate down, you fill up your cup of coffee, and you sit down. If you don't open up that journal, it's going to feel a little bit weird because you just practiced that 7 to 10 times. And that's the idea. You want to make it automatic. Like, this is just what I do. So that will, and I would say, look at your calendar, look at your schedule and say, hey, do I have the time to do this? Be honest with yourself. Am I waking up early enough to have, 5 minutes to sit there with the journal? Because that's something new that you're adding to the routine. So make sure that, you've got some time allocated for that, and you're not feeling pressure because, like, now I'm late for my first call because I sat and I journaled. You don't want to associate negative feelings with this.
Good point. Yes.
So just make sure you've got a little bit of room in your schedule to do that. Maybe, and maybe do it on a weekend, or do it when, you've got a little bit of a lighter load that day. and just try to be consistent with opening that journal. And you don't even have to write in it the first week, right? So start tiny, start small is all you're doing. The only thing you're practicing is pouring up a cup of coffee, sitting down, opening the journal, and then, maybe you don't even have to write in it. You don't even have to write in it. Just do that. And that's a win. So after you do that, make sure you do something or try to think of something that makes you feel good. Smile, whether it's thinking about, you're petting your animal when you first, or greeting your animal when you first come home, how that makes you feel. Find a way to generate what's called a really a warm, exciting feeling for yourself, whether it's, seeing maybe your kids when you come home from work, or whether it's, getting a kudos from your boss, whatever that might be that gets you, really happy. Try to feel that way after you've completed opening that journal. And so now you're associating that what you're doing is you're releasing a little dopamine. And what that does is it does a couple of things. One, it helps you remember. Two, it makes you feel good. And that is going to incentivize you a little bit to continue on with that practice. After it's a no-brainer, there's no effort involved whatsoever for you opening that journal, then maybe start writing in it and start out small. One of the books that you mentioned, a 5-minute journal, or just, one line, and you don't feel like you need to sit there forever and write a whole novel of brilliant prose. So that's the way I would start out.
I like that. That's all good stuff. The other thing that people can run into is, sort of similar to the way some people balk at starting a meditation practice, because they really just, the idea of just sitting alone with your thoughts sort of intimidates some people. So one of the things that Holiday suggests in this article is that you use your journal to track something that like a habit you already have or a habit you want to build, because then it lets you sort of get your foot in the door of journaling with having a specific purpose, instead of just sharing your feelings and thoughts and emotions, because some people are not comfortable jumping into that because they've never done it before and it feels a little weird to them. So he suggests the idea of tracking your visits to the gym, or how much water you want to drink a day, or some other goal that you have. Use your journal as a tool to track that thing, and that'll help you get used to using a journal for something, and then you can expand your use of it at a level that you're comfortable with.
That's a great idea. That is a very quick win and a very easy way to get started. Putting just pen to paper, you're getting that start there. And I was doing that. I've been doing that. I'm doing the Way Better push-up challenge, and so you have to do 3 sets of push-up every day. And what I'm doing is writing down how many push-ups I did for each set, and then the time. And that's it.
Oh, nice.
And that's what I'm tracking with it. And it's nice to basically also, you can kind of look back and go, oh, I did a couple more today than versus last week. And then, I kind of look at the time of day and I'm like, oh, looks like I'm doing a few more in the afternoon than I do in the mornings when I can do it. So that's a great idea. I like that.
Another thing that he suggests is that, well, the next section of it goes into the, do it in the morning and do it at night, but we talked about that last week. So another 2 suggestions that I think are probably really great if you decide to go the bullet journaling route, which is copy down important quotes in your journal. So if you're having an experience in a day where either you get exposed to a new quote that you like, or something that happens during the day reminds you of a quote that you like, then there you go. You can, put that in your journal.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. So then he gets into the whole section of the bullet journal method, and he's got he links to a pretty cool YouTube video about getting started with the bullet journal method. I like the book, but you don't need to buy that book to learn enough to be able to do it. You can certainly find YouTube videos and articles online that will explain it to you in enough detail that you can get started at least, right?
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt, there's so many.
Yeah. And also, man, if you're the artistic type and you want to make your bullet journal really pretty, holy cow, the level the detail that some people go into is mind blowing with how pretty they make their journal look. And I can see the appeal of that, because if you do spend a lot of time making it aesthetically pleasing, then because of the time you've invested and because of how nice it looks, that does give you a little bit more drive to use it on a regular basis.
Absolutely. But don't get intimidated and overwhelmed like I do, because I'm like, I can't draw like that. And I don't have the patience. I can't. Some people write so small and fine and fit so much in there. And that does not make them better than you. And that's what I tell myself. That's their method. So don't. It can be very intimidating, overwhelming in terms of how much beautiful, creative pages people make.
Yeah, mine is, I have a very minimalistic approach to mine. I do the bare minimum when it comes to, just numbering the things I have to number and drawing some lines to divide out my week and stuff like that. I do not go very, very fancy at all with mine. And maybe I should, and I'd stick to it more if I did. I don't know. I'm not willing to do that. Okay, so let's talk about some famous journalers throughout history, and we'll do this briefly. Marcus Aurelius, one of the founding minds of Stoicism, he found journaling extremely valuable and did it often. Anne Frank, obviously, we are probably all familiar with her and what she did with her diary. Let's see. Henry David Thoreau, who wrote Walden, which is still on my list. I've never read it, but I want to. Last time I went to Boston, I even thought of the idea of going to visit Golden Pond, but I haven't done it yet. But that's definitely one of the things on my bucket list. Mark Twain, who was a very funny guy and had some very clever things to say, and definitely journaled. Let's see. Anais Nin. I don't know who that is. And I don't believe I looked him up when I was reading this initially. Or her, I don't know. So I will visit that after we're done. Okay, then there's a list of best journals to use, which includes the Daily Stoic Journal, the 5-Minute Journal, the One Day Aligned Journal, the Artist's Way Morning Pages Journal. Speaking of my ex-girlfriend, that's what she uses. Becoming a Guided Journal for Discovering Your Voice, Austin Kleon's Steal Like an Artist Journal, James Clear's The Clear Habit Journal, and the Bullet Journal Method. And then there is a list of resources to web pages that talk a little bit more about journaling, and we'll link to this article and some of the purchase recommendations that we've made with the episode notes. So I love this. I love this article. I'm so glad I found it, and I hope everybody else can check it out and get some value out of it like I did.
Yeah, that was a great find, man. Thanks Ryan Holiday for putting that together. You'll definitely find something in that article that speaks to you and enough to get you started and see the value in doing some journaling.
Okay, so let's just refresh with what our personal intentions are for our journaling practices going forward. So here's mine. I am going to use my new bullet journal on a multi-times a day basis, where I am going to be carrying this with me wherever I go so that I have it available to use it the way that I'm supposed to use it, right? I am going to use my Daily Stoic Journal twice a day. I'm going to read the appropriate meditation or thought for the week, and then I'm going to write in it in the morning and in the evening. And then my 5-year journal that I just write a line in every day, I'm going to continue to reliably use this. So that's those are my goals and intentions going forward. What are yours?
Mine are to continue to make my bullet journal a work in progress. So for example, the tasks the area that I created, the pages I created for daily task tracking and management have just been too small. So every week I'm making some adjustments, some changes to where the lines are, how much space I'm giving myself for each day, things like that. So it's going to be continuous work in progress. My intention also is to get up a little bit earlier so I have more free time to sit with my journal in the morning. A lot of times I have not had enough time to properly review and also set my intentions for the day. So my intention will be to get my butt up a little bit earlier, give myself another 5-10 minutes in the morning to sit with it, organize it, and as well as continue to, track my push-ups, track, the workouts that I'm doing, as well as jot down any ideas. So I'm going to as well bring this with me a little bit more often so that as I come up with different ideas for my podcast or the other business or things like that, I've got a spot to record that, not let that linger in my brain nearly as much. The last thing I'm going to do is make it a regular practice to review my day through with the journal, and then write down a 1-sentence summary of something that went well that day, that I liked, something memorable for me to look back on at the end of the month, end of the year, end of my life, and say, hey, this was great. So I'm also going to separate out, I think, and do some, separate downloading on separate scraps of paper in terms of my thought download, and improve my handwriting in my bullet journal, so that not only can other people read it, but so can my future self. Right now, it's a lot of chicken scratch.
Yeah. Another thing I'm going to do now that I'm committed to these 3 journals, my bullet journal, my Daily Stoic journal, my 5-year journal, not so much for the 5-year journal, but for the other 2, I'm going to start a couple of notes in either my notes app or Evernote to say, if I don't have those on me, because if I'm hanging out at the pool or something like that and something occurs to me, I'll definitely have my phone, but I'm not going to have my journal. Right. So I'm going to have a couple separate notes of just places to go from my brain to my phone, and then later from my phone to my physical journal, so that I don't feel like there's anything getting missed.
Yeah, just beware that's going to require another habit of moving it from electronic to the bullet journal. And that's where I've dropped the ball many times, where I just, and then I end up, and that's how I spin out of control. Whereas I'll put it in one spot and then I don't transfer it and consolidate it in the other spot. And before I know it, I've got stuff all over the place. And that's for me, it's a personal struggle that I deal with.
Yeah, one of the things I'll do to make, and this is just occurring to me as you're saying that, one of the things I'll do to make that a little easier on myself is I'll evaluate the thing, whatever the thing is, before I put it in my phone to say, okay, is this something you're really going to feel bad about if you don't have it to look back on later? And if the answer is no, then screw it. I'll just let it go out into the ether and disappear. But if it's something where I'm truly like, okay, yeah, if I don't have access to this later on, I'm going to feel bad. I'm going to feel like I'm missing out on something. Then I feel like just having that process of thought of labeling it as important will be enough to motivate me to then take it from my journal or from my phone to my journal. And the other thing I'm going to do is, once I make that move, I'm going to delete it. So the idea is to keep that note completely blank unless there's something in there that hasn't moved over yet.
I like that. That's great. Yeah. Knowing that you have to keep it clean.
Yeah.
I think will definitely incentivize you to move that stuff out.
Yeah, inbox 0 for my notes section about journaling on my phone.
It'd be great if they had some way of actually like wiping that note after a certain period of time, so that you've got some pressure to move that data off
I like
there,
that.
right? Like if there was a way to say, all right, you're losing this after 24 hours, I know I would get my butt in gear to move that. I wonder if there's a creative way we can do that.
I'm going to see if there is a either. I think we could probably integrate IFTTT, if this, then that.
Maybe.
I think that integrates with Evernote. So there could be a way to say, every night at midnight, empty this document of all content. I think that's probably possible. But there's also probably a journaling app available that you can say, I want you to wipe this away after 24 hours. Or
I've not seen anything like that. So we should
let's invent it. We can't publish this episode now because we're gonna develop that app and get rich.
There we go.
So I'll just edit this part out.
No problem.
All righty. Anything else you want to cover on journaling before we call it a day?
No, this was good. I'm excited. Thank you for pushing to make intentions for both of us for how we're going to use our journal. That was helpful for me.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think I feel like that's a necessary step. Whenever you're talking about something you want to do that you find valuable, it's like go ahead and put it out there so people expect you to do that thing.
Yeah.
But also don't have so much pride that you can't come back later and say I didn't do it, because that's what happened with me in the 30-day No More Mr. Nice Guy thing. I had to just come back and eat a little bit of humble pie and say, hey, I wanted to do this, but it didn't fit in my life, so I'm not doing it, and I don't have any shame or guilt over it.
Yeah.
But these feel valuable. So this little triple stack of my journals, I'm going to commit to making them my best friends, and the 2 of them especially, I'm going to just carry with me wherever I go. They're going in my computer backpack with my tablet that I use for work and use for watching movies and use for all that stuff.
Well, I know that if you don't do all that, I'm going to lose a lot of respect for you. So yeah, make sure you get it done.
You can't possibly lose respect for me because we've been friends too long. It's already all gone. How dare you?
How dare you call me out? All right.
All right, Dan, well, have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.
All right, man. You too. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for spending time with us on the Mindfully Masculine podcast. If you liked the episode, or you think it would be useful for someone else, please leave us a review and join the Mindfully Masculine group on Facebook. Remember, fellas, don't act masculine, be masculine.